Go, Cowboy Ron.
Okay, Mr. Producer, thank you for that little cue here. I got an assistant today. We'll just refer to him as Mr. Producer. And I promised you on the shorts that we start getting into building a log cabin. And that's what we're going to do. It's going to be many different segments. Most of this stuff comes off my mind, things I think you need to go. And you can save money and time by me sharing my mistakes with you. I can show you how log cabin looks when I first got started. We're in the log cabin right now. Mr. Producer, would you zoom in for us, please? And that's a picture of the logs laying out on the ground. And they stretched out about 140 feet. That's 40 that was 40 some logs. Okay, have you got that, Mr. Producer?
Uh-huh.
Okay, go ahead and zoom out for a second. And I'm going to change. Now, when you build a log cabin, you're going to need a lot of information. And a great book to get is this one right here. Mr. Producer, zoom in for us again. It's a manual on how to build log cabins. And it goes into everything from tools to how to select wood, log graders, etc. And I talked to the guy that produced the book. He knows a lot about it. He has a school on log cabins. And his name is Chambers. Okay, Mr. Producer, you can just leave it back to where you think is best. And I'll keep on going. Another book that you want to get a hold of is by E.B. Mackey. Now, Mr. Mackey in the 30s and 40s was building log cabins when they weren't for the rich people, they were for the poor people. And he's a very amazing man. He sells tools, he has videos, and things of that nature. I tried to find a copy of his book. I lost mine. I couldn't do it, but keep looking for E.B. Mackey. I'd read both books. And so to build a log cabin, you're going to need land. Now, the cabin we're going to show you a little bit later on, the outside of it, is a two-story. It took 44 logs to build it. They're spruce wood, and they came from Fort Apache. The upstairs where we're at right now is actually not logs. We have a 10-12 roof. Slides down. I have able to put a dormer in here. And my cabin is not totally wood. Among other things, we have a metal roof. And why? Obviously, I'm a senior. And when we put the metal roof on it, it comes with a 45-year warranty on it. I was in my 70s, so in 40 years, I hope to be able to renew my contract. 10-12 roof is very steep. If you go that route, sometimes you'll have a hard time finding people that want to come out and help you. Okay, let's get back to the basics on log cabin building. First thing you're going to need is land. And one would assume if you want a log cabin, you already have a little venture in you. You're wanting to explore. And you may be wanting to build a log cabin because you feel it's cheaper. But truly, anything that you do yourself generally will save you money. A contractor makes about 25% when he builds your house. So if you pay $200,000 to a house, he made $50,000 for doing it. You can save a lot of money by being a laborer. When people come out to help me, I tell them I wear two hats. I'm the contractor and I'm the laborer. If you're working, don't get up off the ladder. Just say, Cowboy Ron, go get me this or that, or whatever you want to have. So, going back to the ground, if you got this adventure spirit in, you may want to live off the grid. We're on solar. We haven't bought any electric from Arizona since we've been here. You're going to need to learn that. That's another skill, because most of that is labor intense. Get a technician to show you how to hook it up. The solar people will give you schematics. So if you're going to go solar, you're going to be off the grid, you're probably going to get your ground a lot cheaper. Much cheaper. A good trick you can do is get it off the grid, but someplace it might expand to you. Now, when you get off the grid, you're going to need water. And so you're going to want to, as you go looking for land, find out how deep you have to go to hit water. And where we are, I got my land cheap, a couple $1,000, but we had to go 385 feet to hit water. So that's not cheap. That's about $6,000 bill before you get started. I was actually to acquire some land that already had that on there. I would get as much land as possible. Find out what the building restrictions are. Probably if you got a lot of money invested, you want to get it surveyed. So after you've got your land, you're going to need to get your logs, not necessarily in that order. And you should have a log grader. If you've never built a log cabin, you're going to need to do a lot of different things. Your logs, the bigger ones, are on the bottom. So get a log grader. If you're going to harvest your own logs, you can do this to the National Forest Service. You have to get a permit. But don't forget, when you start harvesting logs, you may have to do a lot of looking around. You need a log grader to mark the logs for you, both in terms of the quality log that you want and also making sure that that's a log that you're permitted to harvest. It's dangerous work. From my standpoint, if you can afford to bring in people that are skilled using chainsaws and things of this nature, let them cut it down and deliver your logs for you. Or you might look around and find a good deal on logs. After that, you're going to need to start studying. That books I mentioned, get videos. The more information you can have, the better off you are. And you're going to need information on a lot of things. I'm assuming that you're not a contractor. Get a book from Home Depot on how to do electrical work. Get a book on rebar and concrete work. And not that you're going to pass the test to be a contractor, but that will arm you with enough information when you hire somebody. You'll be able to make an intelligent decision if they know what they're talking about or they're just jerking you around. Now, the book from E.B. Mackey says a rule of thumbs is the log cabin should be 4 feet off the ground. Not so much out here in Arizona, but if you're someplace where you have a lot of moisture on the ground, the 4 feet keeps your logs off the ground so they're not collecting moisture and rotting out on you. Now, on my particular case, I left the large part of the logs on there, the bell. I did it firstly because it looks nice, but also over a period of time, if they turn black or get some mold on them, I can just take a chainsaw and cut it down. With the tools, it's an incredible amount of work cutting logs. So I would get a good chainsaw. I think Stihl is one of the better models. But check with a chainsaw dealer in your area because they're going to have to be serviced. I'll give you an example. With the log already on the ground, you're going to have to put a W under each log. W does a couple things. It allows the second log to sit on the bottom log so it don't rock around. And to do a W, if you got a 35-foot log, you got to pull a chainsaw back very slowly, walking backwards, back and forth until you get your W in there. So you've walked already 120 feet just alone doing that. It takes about 30 minutes. Now I cut slowly. I didn't cut deep because you can't put the wood back. So you'll have to go back 2 or 3 different times after you've done that. Also, but I forgot to mention, if you're going to get a chainsaw, I would get the protective shaps they got. They're made out of the same material that bulletproof vesting is. Now, I know people that order these shaps at $50 at a time for the road workers. The shap company will tell you that they don't guarantee you won't get cut, but it'll it'll protect you from the chainsaw getting into you too much. The people that buy these shaps say they've never had anybody get hurt while they're wearing them. So I wear those shaps every day. I cut logs 8 hours a day. Now, again, just trying to give you a little overview of what it takes. Now, before you even cut, you got to mark these logs with the scriber. It's a little device um, that you can measure the size cut you want. Then you have to squirt water on the logs, and you run the scriber from the bottom log, and it transfers the cutting pattern on the log that you're trying to cut and get ready. After that, you have to put it in place and see how it looks. Then you may have to pull it off again and cut some more. Sometimes I've had to do it 7 times. So you're going to need a crane. Trying to think of some other things that just to let you know what you're going to do. Start shopping for your tools. Some tools don't have to be expensive, but your log cutting tools, I would pick them out 1, 2, 3 tools at a time. Don't go out and spend $2,000 or $3,000 for a kit. There's a lot of stuff you just don't need, or you may find it at a swap meeting. So I think this is going to be enough for today. I want some input. I'm going to keep mentioning things to you, but you need land. You need to be 4 feet off the ground, so you go now. Yeah, that reminds me. I'm glad you reminded me of that. We're going to. You're going to need to know how to lay block. You don't have to be a skilled bricklayer. Just get a book on it. Get a bricklayer to come out and build up your 4 walls for you. That's what I did. Now I use very big cinder block, about a foot thick. And inside that cinder block, when you get laid, goes a grout. That's concrete. And I upgraded the strength of my concrete by 1,000 psi per pounds per square inch. And I did it for maybe a silly reason, knowing I never operated a crane before. I wanted something strong enough in case I actually swung a log into it, so I wouldn't damage it. And it came out to be quite strong. And I did the rebar myself. It don't take much to do the rebar. But again, start figuring out how you can lay the walls. If you're going to use a bricklayer, he'll give you a great price. You can start laying out the block for him the way he wants it, so it cuts down on his time. But I would strongly suggest, if you do your own block work yourself, do it right. If it's not right, you put the level on it, just pull it off until you get it right. But you're going to save yourself $1,000, $2,000 by doing your own block work. Okay, producer's motion for me, and I'm supposed to go off the air again. I want you to come back to Cowboy Ron on my YouTube site. And bring some of your buddies over, give them to subscribe. The more the merrier. And don't forget, you can also get a lot of information on news, Western history, Happy Trails of the West, which is now going to go live on radio, and that would come up under cowboyron.com on my website. So here we go again. Hope you live as long as you want and never want as long as you live. Adios, amigo.